One thunderous drum roll, one gap-toothed grin, and suddenly a 7-year-old prince hijacked Britain's most regimented birthday parade, proving that even 1,400 marching soldiers can't compete with a single mischievous Louis Windsor. He appeared in the open Ascot landau looking every inch the miniature gentleman, navy jacket, scarlet tie, shoes polished to a mirror. But the second young Louis spotted the cheering sea of Union Jacks, decorum evaporated. He raised both arms in a turbine-speed salute, arching backwards, so dramatically that Prince George had to steady him. Gasps turned into laughter, and a hush of military precision surrendered to a child's unfiltered joy. Behind the carriage's brass rail, Princess Catherine kept her composure, choosing not to curb the exuberance too quickly. Courtiers whispered later that she sees these flashes of spontaneity as teachable lightning, valuable because they humanize, but fleeting because discipline must always return. William, riding on horseback, caught the scene in a sideways glance and lifted an eyebrow, half warning, half pride, before snapping back to his salute. In that heartbeat, the monarchy's choreography merged with family reality, and the nation leaned closer. Why does a single wave matter? Because every reign needs its lightning rod, and Louis has become the spark that shows the crown can still laugh at itself. Since King Charles vowed to streamline the institution, approval ratings have risen only when sincerity seeps through ceremony. Louis supplies it in buckets. His antics reassure taxpayers that royal blood is still blood, not marble. The moment he leaned back and feigned exhaustion, hand to forehead like a silent film star, the crowd exploded again. Cameras captured Charlotte's quick touch on her brother's sleeve, a gentle check from the monarchy's emerging diplomat. Onlookers delighted in the exchange, yet the true magic was subtler, a sister balancing order with warmth, foreshadowing the dynamics that will one day define her public role. Enjoying these hidden palace signals? Join our growing circle of royal insiders for more quietly dropped gems, link in bio. Minutes later the procession reached Horse Guards, and Louis slipped into a brief spell of seriousness. The artillery guns boomed. The band fell silent for a commemorative minute honoring those lost in the 1985 Air India disaster. Beside the Duchess of Edinburgh, Sophie, Louis bowed his head with surprising gravity. Sophie leaned close, whispering the significance of the silence while he fiddled, just once, with the window cords behind them. Mischief simmered, but responsibility simmered too, both would soon reach a boil. The parade's climax unfolded on the Buckingham Palace balcony. Jets roared overhead, red, white and blue smoke trailing against a perfect June sky. Louis launched back into action, copying his grandfather's slow, regal hand swivel, but tripling the speed, almost as if testing aerodynamics. George nudged him, murmuring something the lip readers later guessed was "pace yourself." Louis answered with a grin and changed his wave to a languid, window wiper motion, drawing out the last pass of the red arrows. The cameras clicked, thousands posted clips within seconds. #Wave King trended before the anthem even finished. When the opening bars of God Save the King rolled across the forecourt, Catherine issued her only firm instruction of the day, a subtle gesture toward the flag. Instantly Louis snapped upright, chin lifted, eyes front. The shift was so crisp commentators compared it to a guardsman's drill. Body language expert Judy James later summed it up. People saw discipline springing from affection, not fear. That's the Goldilocks zone for 21st century royalty. By then the live stream chat had filled with memories of earlier Louis highlights. Covering his ears at Jubilee flypasts, wiggling to bagpipes at Balmoral, wrinkling his nose at horse manure last year. This time, though, there was a noticeable evolution, mischief wrapped in mindfulness, as though the prince had started reading the room. Up in the palace's private wing, an amused King Charles reportedly remarked to Camilla, "That boy could sell sand at the seaside." The Queen Consort is said to have answered dryly, "Let's hope he also learns to sell the sovereign's agenda." Their exchange, half joke, half strategy session, signals the reality behind the laughter. Louis's appeal is fast becoming a soft power asset. One senior aide hinted that limited child-friendly engagements may appear on next year's calendar, light touch, strictly seasonal, just enough to let the sparkle shine. Yet sparkle alone won't secure the institution's future. While the public swooned over balcony antics, the King's private office analyzed broadcast metrics. Peak viewership coincided not with the cavalry's precision wheel but with Louis's face-scrunching grin. Expect more of the Wales children stepping into carefully chosen spotlight moments, advisors say, because nothing sells continuity like candid family chemistry. Historical resonance bolsters that strategy. Royal children have delivered emotional ballast for centuries, from Edward VII's seaside pranks to Elizabeth and Margaret's wartime radio chats. When Louis bends protocol just enough to reveal the human beneath the uniform, he taps a lineage that kept Windsor Wall standing through abdications, divorces, even pandemics. The British public rarely resents mischief that feels authentic. It resents secrecy that feels contrived. Still, boundaries matter, especially to Sophie, Duchess of Edinburgh, whose mentorship is quietly shaping the youngest generation. During trooping she explained regimental banners, pointed out her late father-in-law's beloved Welsh guards, and reminded Louis, in a near-stage whisper, that pulling blind cords could send centuries-old velvet toppling onto priceless drapery. He listened, sort of, wrapping the cord once around a small finger, before releasing it with a repentant grin. Twitter lit up. Sophie is every aunt keeping the peace at family weddings. Even the solemn segment yielded a viral gem. As F-35 fighter jets thundered overhead, Louis instinctively copied the pilot's hand gesture, 2 fingers forward, thumb tucked. An aviation buff in the live stream chat explained it's the NATO positive handover signal. Within minutes, defense pundits were joking that Louis had delivered his first unofficial salute to the armed forces, cementing an image of a prince equal parts clown and cadet. Late afternoon sunlight slanted through the windows behind the balcony, casting the royal silhouettes onto palace bricks. Journalists on the courtyard floor noted how Louis, once the waving ended, stepped half a pace back behind his mother, letting George move forward into visual alignment with the king. Whether instinct or coaching, the choreography carried symbolic punch. The heir center stage, the spare ready with comedic relief, the dynasty balanced without a word. After the family withdrew, a Kensington Palace aide invited a small press pool into the picture gallery for a post-parade photograph. There, Charles presented Louis with a scale model of a Red Arrow Hawk jet, saying simply, "For your collection and your patience." The gesture underscored a deeper lesson. Every public antic is matched by a private debrief, ensuring charisma never outruns courtesy. So where does Louis's trajectory point? Plans are already underway for a children's garden project linked to Catherine's early years initiative. Rumour has it the youngest Wales will help plant a legacy oak, symbolically bridging his grandmother's ecological passions and his own boundless energy. Royal gardeners have discreetly requested extra mulch, anticipating, perhaps, that soil will fly further than protocol allows. And George. Sources say his camaraderie with Louis is transitioning from gentle scolding to collaborative mischief management. Tutors overheard George researching early royal aviation, so he can teach Louis the proper way to signal a fly past. Sibling synergy, if channeled, could give Britain its most relatable leadership duo since the wartime princesses. That synergy is also strategic. A shared front dilutes future speculation about rivalry. Charlotte, meanwhile, continues her quiet rise as the unflappable mediator. She's memorized regimental colors, practices curtsies in trainers, and, if palace chatter is correct, has drafted a children's guide to ceremonial etiquette for a future photo book. Early sketches feature Louis chasing pigeons across the forecourt, Charlotte intercepting with a playful reprimand. In the final frame Louis obeys, but the pigeons escape. The Crown's story, in miniature. Even critics concede the monarchy benefits when genuine childhood peeks through the gilt. Republic campaigners who once dismissed royal ceremonies as expensive pageants found themselves sharing compilation clips of Louis's wave, captioned "Taxpayer dollars well spent." Sarcasm? Perhaps. But engagement numbers don't discriminate, and high engagement keeps debate alive. Meanwhile, the king's cost-cutting agenda rolls on. Courtiers note that Trooping's horse-drawn costs dropped 8% this year after consolidating regimental detachments. The savings, ironically, were buried under online chatter about Louis's antics. Visibility is currency, and for now the youngest Wales is minting it faster than Treasury software can tally the parade budget. As twilight settled across St. James's Park, leftover confetti swirling in the warm breeze, a tourist from Sydney summed up the national mood. "You Brits do ceremony better than anyone, but it's the kid who made me stand here all day." Her phone screen replayed Louis's balcony wave on loop, an end-of-evening lullaby of unfiltered delight. Moments later, the palace issued its only post-parade statement, a single photograph of Louis examining his new model jet beside the king. No caption required, the internet supplied millions. In one viral remix, Louis launches the toy into a blue-screen sky with the words, "Future Flight Commander." In another, he salutes the jet, then turns to wink at the camera, cut to black, subscribe button hovering. Which brings us neatly to the call to action. If you want every wink, wave, and whispered reprimand delivered before it even trends, tap follow, ring the bell, and join the only Royal Watch feed that catches the joke before the palace issues the photo. The curtains have closed on Trooping 2025, but Louis's encore is already in rehearsal, and if history is any guide, next year's parade won't know what's hit it.